Louise's minutes.
I only had one correction.
Okay,
I think you called, and I don't have it in front of me, where you mentioned Michael Canales.
yes.
You called him the town administrator instead of the town administrator. If you put,
I called him the what administrator?
you called it, you said TOM administrator instead of town.
Oh, that's entertaining.
The town administrator. I think that's you, actually.
Pretty minor.
Okay, thank
Everything
you.
else looked great.
Yeah.
Good minutes.
So someone make a motion to accept with the change?
I make a motion to accept the
I
minutes.
make a motion.
One change.
And we'll second it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Arthur, you have to say I, Arthur Gentile, because you're on remote. And so that's the law with remote participants of the board. So just say I, Arthur.
Yeah, I approve of it.
All right, that's close enough. All right, so then the next thing is status of outreach and records collection. And Laura's on her way. She's driving back from, she works in New York City, and she said she'd be here around 5:30. So do you want to start with your native plant trust?
Sure. So I contacted Native Plant Trust. They used to be the New England Wildflower Society. They're now the Native Plant Trust. And they sent me a list of endangered species that they have found in the bog. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 different species. I sent it to Laura. I don't think you all saw it. I can give it to you for the minutes. And Laura had a question because some of these are pretty old. The dates range from 1983 to 2021. So she questioned if these are the most recent. As far as I know, they are the most recent. She also asked, what's the connection between Native Plant Trust and the New England Natural Heritage? I sent that question out, but I don't have an answer yet.
Do you mean natural heritage of the state natural heritage?
Yeah. I don't know if the Native Plant Trust does some of their surveys for them. I think so.
Yeah, and natural heritage keeps the same list. If you look at the natural heritage map,
Yeah.
you can see the Stockbridge list, but they don't identify what part of Stockbridge are found in because they don't want rare plant hunters going and getting them.
Okay.
So,
Well, this list is specific to the bog.
good. Anything good? Any,
They're all in Latin.
what?
They're all in Latin.
Oh, great.
There wasn't anything that I actually knew. I have to look them up.
Okay. Good. And how about the Stockbridge Concom?
Stockbridge Concom, Sally said there is a file on Kampoosa. There's also notes from her mother. I don't have either one of them yet, so
Okay.
waiting on that from Sally.
And Lee Concom?
Lee Concom said they had no records.
Ah, too bad. Okay, trustees of reservations.
I don't know that we had anyone.
Yeah, that kind of surprised me as an agenda item, ultimately, because we didn't have anybody contacting them.
Okay.
Right, and I had told Laura I wasn't planning to contact them.
I have a
That
call
was
with them
fine.
tomorrow regarding, what was the question?
If they had any records or any information themselves.
Okay. And Arthur, you got anything on the Historical Society?
I checked with the Historical Society. Josh Hall said that they have a number of newspaper clippings and copies of reports, but nothing original for research purposes, but other than looking at newspaper articles during that period of time.
Okay. Are we going to try to get those?
They are available. Josh recommends that you would come in on Tuesdays from 5 to 8, Thursdays, and then Saturday morning. If one was to look for the files and notify him earlier before going, so he could have them ready for access to us.
I did actually photocopy all of the articles that were in the museum and archives months ago. So I have a copy of those. I haven't put them in order or anything like that, but I do actually have it. So I think it would be a waste of time for someone else to copy those.
Yeah.
There may be some other things there as well that I also didn't copy at the time, including at least some minutes of the previous stewardship committee meetings.
And I had India from the library had sent many of the minutes to me, and I sent them to Laura.
Oh, okay.
That was quite a while ago.
So I haven't seen those electronically anywhere. I don't know if they were, did
I can-
you scan them or did you scan them?
She scanned them to me and I sent it to,
Oh, great.
I can scan it to the whole committee. I can send it to the whole committee.
Okay.
So I will do that.
So can I ask just a point of clarification? When anybody talked about the historical committee, what they mean is the museum and archives and the library? Is that right, Arthur? Is that what everybody means?
Yes,
I'm referring to, yeah.
Okay. Okay, I didn't know.
yes.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Good.
I saw those articles too. They were interesting in terms of they would talk about parades. No, I'm sorry, I'm thinking Ice Glen. I take it back.
Oh, okay, okay,
But there were some interesting articles in there.
yeah.
And I don't know what map means, Arthur, but do you have anything on
Yes.
maps?
Yes, I have two maps. The very early one from the middle 80s. The Marians gave a conservation easement of the bog to the town of Stockbridge. And that's the beginning of the protection, the official protection of the bog. And then I've got the meets and bounds of what was the wetlands at that time by Kelly Granger and Parsons surveyors. And I can bring that at the next meeting because I have a second copy so we can have it in our files. And the second map is of the land north of the turnpike, which becomes 1990. What is now my wife and my land, which was divided with Stan and Sandy Piachik. Then, because on my side of my land, there is a triangle that encompasses the north end of the bog, northwest end of the bog, and it contains 3.87 acres. And that includes the Tennessee gas line and a wetland where Marsh Brook travels north under the turnpike. Patrick, I told you last meeting that was given to the town of Stockbridge. I stand to be corrected. That land was actually given back to the Marian fathers at that time. So the Marians own those 3 acres, which comprises the Kampoosa bog.
Okay.
And I have those, I'll bring those plans to our next meetings for the files.
So it raises a question for me. Does the town own any of this land?
No, not to my knowledge. The land that was given back was given to the Marians, which were the caretakers of the bog.
Okay.
Yep. All right.
So just for clarification, so Arthur, any maps that you have, you're going to bring in so we can scan them and make copies? Is that what you plan to do?
Yes,
Okay,
and I can give you these. I have a second copy for my files. So I can give you these maps, and therefore you can copy them for the members.
great, thank you.
And as things are being copied and scanned, are they going to a central location?
So I think
think
one of
that's the
the
next bullet
agenda
point.
items is storage, so, yeah.
Stay tuned.
Right.
Okay. Now I think that 917 phone, is that you? I don't know if you can unmute safely because you're driving, Laura. It might be hard for her to unmute. The next thing on the agenda is NHESP, and I'm going to read the letter that Laura got from them. It's from Chris Bulow, who is with NHESP. He is a senior restoration ecologist, Massachusetts Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program. Hello, Kampoosa Bog Stewardship Committee. I'm not sure, Commissioner Committee. I just received a message from a colleague here at MANHESP that the KBSC has reached out with questions regarding NHESP's role with management at Kampoosa Bog. I'm glad to hear that the Stewardship Committee has reassembled, and I'd be happy to catch up with you on where our work stands and what the future might bring. In the meantime, NHESP has been working at Kampoosa over the past several years, primarily through a partnership with the Massachusetts Department of Transportation and with additional funding from a Houstonic Natural Resource Damages Grant on such issues as invasive control, hydrology, chemical inputs, and prescribed fire. This work is built off of the long-term efforts that have taken place in this fen for the past 2 decades. Some of our most recent efforts with invasives control here have been frustrating. While we've secured funding for this work, we've been unable to solicit contractors to actually carry out the control. This winter, we'll see a major effort to solve the contractor problem. On the other hand, we now have a prescribed fire plan for the fen, and we've been able to deal with some immediate hydrology issues, and we've been working closely with Smith College and MADOT to better understand and eventually mitigate road runoff issues there. The one thing that's been clear to me with Kampoosa is that the stressors here are many, and therefore the solutions will require a large and long-term effort. We're committed to this, but we also welcome all the assistance we can get. Perhaps a good next step is to meet and see how our 2 entities can work together. Several years ago, I've been involved with a Kampoosa working group that included representatives from the Marion Fathers, Tennessee Gas, MADOT, the town of Stockbridge, TNC, and others. I'm not sure if this was actually a past iteration of the Kampoosa Bog Stewardship Commission, but regardless, such a diverse suite of interests will be critical in achieving meaningful progress here. And so it would be great to discuss how we may go about maximizing our capacity. Thanks, Chris Bulow, Senior Restoration Ecologist, NHESP. So there you have it.
Okay.
So I'm sure that'll be a follow-up to maybe schedule a meeting.
I thought he was invited to this. But he's not here.
Don't know.
So,
Don't know, but obviously in terms of figuring out what kind of data or information they can share,
Yeah.
you know, an in-person meeting would be ideal. Yeah,
Good.
yeah.
yeah, that's a great response.
All right. Let's see. Nature Conservancy.
Oh, so I got in touch with Rennie Wendell, whom I originally was going to be able to make tonight's meeting, and then yesterday told me he was not going to be able to be here. His boss says there is a big file on Kampoosa with them. And so far, I haven't gotten anything, although Rennie says he's going to try to, you know, get as much to us as soon as possible. And he talked about a couple of things. One was, if there is anything in hard copy, that they're trying to eliminate any hard copy files, and he would just be happy to give to us. And then another possibility was essentially giving us an electronic way to access some of their records. I don't think they're, you know, willing to give us access to all, but to some of their records. So there's some different ways of getting information about scientific matters related to Kampoosa Bog. So,
And are they still actively doing things there?
so far as I understand, yes.
Great.
Yeah. So, but more to come. And Rennie says that he will try to be here for the November meeting.
Good.
So, because I think, you know, there's some interest in also discussing how we sort of move forward in parallel, you know, so. Yeah, what about
So I did not reach Frank Lowenstein. I ran into Jess Toro, and she said Frank was not involved at all. He was not the right person to be contacting. So
okay,
I knew you were going to contact them. I didn't do the same.
okay, very good.
Okay. BNRC?
So I have about a half dozen things I'm dealing with BNRC, and this was one of them. And they have not gotten back to me with any extensive information yet on what they have, but I'm still following up with them. So my hope is that I'll have something hopefully within the next week, because all the other items that I'm working on are kind of coming to a crescendo in the next week. So I'll have something. And then I can follow up. And Arthur and I spoke about this last week, but I looked in the land trust's cabinet here in the town offices, and whatever is in there regarding I didn't go through all of the minutes of the land trust because there's a lot of them that are not digitized and they go back decades. But I did go through and find a folder on Kampoosa Bog, and it is nothing that we don't already have that we spoke about in our last meeting. So I didn't bring it forward. So.
Okay,
And files in town offices, Arthur and
That's me.
Rich.
That's what I just brought.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's just, yeah.
All right. Storage of all records, once again, I don't know if Lisa can easily, oh no,
She is.
wow, there she is.
Hello.
Ringing, ears were ringing.
Ooh, I could not figure out how to unmute.
Yeah, I know, it's like star or something.
Car.
Don't make it easy.
Sorry, I'm trying to answer some of your questions.
Right.
What did I miss? I
So
didn't dial in
we've
until
gone-
5 minutes
We
in.
covered all of the things in agenda item 2. States
Oh, really?
Of all the things.
I read
Okay.
NHSB.
I heard that. I do want to say one thing about that. I wanted to talk about what our approach should be. So I got back to him and said, you know, we have a meeting coming up. We'll get back to you. What I was going to propose is that I at least have an initial conversation with him, because I left voicemails for several people at NHESP, and I guess they probably all passed all my voicemails on to him. So, because I want to talk specifically about the projects that we saw in the Combis system, which when I dug into all of them, I'm not surprised that his letter shared that they've been frustrated that nobody's jumped in to do the work, because that's what those documents say. It says that nobody jumped in. So I don't have any of my notes or anything, they're all at home, but I know I had like 3 or 4 different things. Some was historical records, some was what's specifically been going on. So I would like to at least reach out and have an initial conversation with him and then see where it goes. Because I don't know if it's just meeting with him or if it's him and someone else from NHESP. I don't know if inviting them to this meeting, I don't think that's maybe the first step. I feel like I need to talk to him a little bit about. So I just want to know if you guys thought that was okay.
Did anybody talk to Jess about, I assume she knows about Combis, but yeah, she's one of the 3 approved vendors to do the sorts of treatment that were on the Combis. And I was surprised that she hadn't bid on it.
I don't know her, so I would not.
I just know she's extraordinarily busy, but I don't know
Yeah.
what extent with what.
It might be worth asking her just if she has any plan to, or she can fit it in the next year. Because, I think there's 2 vendors who are state approved for this type of restoration work in the Boston and Cape Cod area. And she's the only one, sort of west of Worcester.
In the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and in fact, it was to protect her ability to be a vendor, is one of the reasons, the primary reason.
Enjoy the meeting.
Why, we don't want to create a conflict of interest.
Right.
So would you like me to contact her and ask her that question, Lynn?
Or I can, she's on the land, so I can do that.
Yeah, I don't know her, so I'm not the right
Yeah,
person.
I'll talk to her.
Okay, that would be great. Okay. Wi-Fi. So you guys did native plant trust. Okay, I think that was the only thing I wanted to say about NHESP. Did you do the approve the minutes or talk about the
we did.
minutes?
we did.
We did you have any things that you wanted
I
to
had,
add?
I just mostly wanted to say, I thought they could get down to like I mean, I appreciated it because it really was the blow by blow and I watched the video, but I feel like reading the minutes, I remembered even more things.
Right.
But I felt like it made more sense just to say, stakeholders were identified and prioritized. I don't know.
Okay.
So maybe I'm swinging the opposite
I
direction.
liked the detail. I really liked the detail.
Is it sustainable for you though? Because you were so hesitant to take this on and I can see it was a lot of work.
Yeah, I mean, it took a few hours, to do. I just, I mean, I don't want to give a tape recording because we have the recording. But at the same time, I do find things, sort of copious notes, helpful with retaining memory of
Yeah.
certain events, and but I don't want to do that, spend the time if it's not valuable. And I could have, the high level minutes with detail on different pages, but then it still needs to be read and approved. So that puts a burden on everybody else.
Would it be helpful to just sort of, I mean, I agree. I thought they were great, but I also know, having been on the school committee, taking minutes,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
really.
It can be a burden.
I mean, could there be a happy medium where we just sort of do the quick sort of, recap, but then, and then list the action items and leave it at
That was
that?
my favorite part of the whole thing.
It's just like, just having like a quick recap and then the action items might be enough.
Okay.
And then you could just add a link to the recording if anyone really wanted to get the blow by blow.
Right.
That might save you a lot of time. And that might accomplish what we're trying to track.
The only
Right.
thing I want to add, the link to the recording, unfortunately, the way that system is set up, it's a link to the government section of the television thing, and then you have to search the word Kampoosa for our stuff to come up. Like, it's not a link to that exact
direct
meeting.
link.
It's a link to, you can either link to education or government or whatever their third section is. I've never been able to get all that extra stuff.
Okay.
Let me see. Let me look at that because there might be a way to cheat the
Okay, I
system.
futzed around with it because I think you reached out and said, I want to
Yes,
do the minutes,
yeah.
but can you send me the recording?
Right.
So I was like, why can't I send like a better link to
Yeah.
this?
So should I include on the minutes, a link to the CTU-SB
yeah.
site plus, just say search Kampoosa? In other words,
Yeah, you
should I
could,
provide
yeah.
that as?
Yeah,
so
unless
people
you
have-
can figure out how to do a more specific link, which that would be great.
I've
Can I give
cheated.
you a tip? Hi, this is Patty Kaya. Sorry, I'm an audience member. I contacted CTSB about this once. If you look up the meeting on the YouTube channel, they have a YouTube channel for the meetings also. You can get the direct shareable link.
Oh, thanks, Patty.
You're
Okay.
welcome.
Oh, that's a good idea, actually. I never thought of that.
I didn't even know they had the YouTube channel. All right,
That's
cool.
great.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay.
So we don't have anything else. Okay, so that's my 2 cents on the minutes. I'm sorry that I'm making you guys rehash it. So storage of all records. I haven't gotten to this yet. I've got to talk to Michael. I know that Mike Canales set up a folder for us, but I want to talk to him about how do we get access to the folder and where is it and all that stuff. And I just I've called him a few times and haven't gotten him. So I just still need to do that.
Okay.
And I know that came up earlier when I was on the phone. So next, a letter to abutters and downstream folks. So I wrote the letter, I ran it by Patrick and Mike. Did I send it to you guys?
Yes.
Okay, oh, good. Okay, so I'm just going to read it out loud since we do have an audience member. So this is the letter that we said we wanted to send to people who are direct abutters of Kampoosa, but then also other interested parties, like you mentioned, you live downstream. So that's why I just said downstream folks. We would be able to go into, I think it's our ArcGIS system or whatever, and figure out who the right people are, pull those addresses and do a fairly easy mailing. So the letter is, dear neighbor, you are receiving this notice because your property abuts or is in the watershed of Kampoosa Bog and Stockbridge. I think that's accurate. Watershed of, I don't know. I still don't, I know we need a map, which you guys talked about earlier. So I don't know exactly what the area is that we're doing, but the Commonwealth of Massachusetts designated Kampoosa Bog an area of critical environmental concern, ACEC, in 1995. The Stockbridge Kampoosa Stewardship Committee, a voluntary group, has organized itself to preserve and restore the bog by fostering community stewardship, of the Kampoosa Bog Drainage Basin, ACEC. I took that quote from previous Kampoosa committee, sort of their mission statement. So that's just directly from there. Areas of critical environmental concern are places in Massachusetts that receive special recognition because of the quality, uniqueness, and significance of their natural and cultural resources. The Department of Conservation and Recreation, DCR, administers the ACEC program. The purpose of the ACEC program is to preserve, restore, and enhance critical environmental resources and resource areas of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. While this designation increases environmental oversight, it does not supersede local regulations on zoning, change or affect land ownership, allow public access on private property, or prohibit or stop land development. So both of those paragraphs are directly from the ACEC website, which Arthur had suggested I pulled them from there. So then I said, our committee meetings are open to the public and fall on the third Monday of the month at 5 p.m. in the town offices and on Zoom. And then I gave our email address. Any comments? Like, I wasn't sure who should sign it. Like, do we sign it and then put our names, or do we not sign it? I know it'll go on Town of Stockbridge, like,
I think as the chair, you sign it.
Yeah, I would think that.
okay, as the chair, I sign it. Okay, fine. Okay. So,
Was there anything in there that said, please contact us with questions or any kind of invitation?
no, I didn't put that in there because I'm just
letting
like,
you know we're here.
yeah, we're here. You can come to our meetings and here's our email address because our email address goes to all of our emails.
Does it,
so-
it goes to yours as well? Because I couldn't see that yeah.
It does. So the guy from NHESP got our email address because I left it on all those voicemails.
Okay.
So we all got the letter, which was great.
Okay, good.
It's more efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah. We just have to remember, I have to remember to check my Stockbridge email.
Yeah.
Don't always
You
think-
can have them forwarded to your personal phone.
Oh, you can. Oh, that's true.
Instead of
Auto
all
forward.
yeah.
That's true. Okay, so if we think this letter is okay, I was going to move that we move forward with sending this letter out to sort of the designated people that we talked about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, thanks, Arthur. Okay, so my next step then will be to work with whoever it is in the town. I don't know if it's Michael Blay and his world, because he has all the maps, or if it's Mike Canales, but I'll find that out, and then we'll try to get the letter out ASAP.
I was going to say, I've been doing this a lot lately.
Yeah,
And I think there's a way to just simply do this within the system. So probably Michael Canales will be our best bet to
Okay.
understand how.
I mean,
to-
I use those maps all the time.
Yeah,
That system is great.
so you can
I
select
just don't know
your
exactly
butters.
where Kampoosa Bog is, so I wouldn't be able to,
Oh,
but you're right, you can
yeah.
set latitude, longitude and all
Yep,
that stuff,
yep.
which I do have that, that's in the ACEC registration, but. Okay, so that's the letter to the abutters and the downstream folks. And then in our last meeting, at the very end, Arthur said, I feel like we should get out there and visit. So,
Oh, we skipped beavers.
oh, I took it off because I wasn't sure. I took it off because I had no idea what we needed to talk about with that. So under new business, I was going
Sorry.
to bring it up again. That's
Okay,
okay.
yeah.
I changed the agenda after I heard back from some of you guys
Okay.
with adjustments.
Okay.
Arthur, what do you think about visiting?
Cold.
Okay, I would recommend it. Laura, you mentioned that you did have canoes and kayaks available, but did not have any transportation.
Yep,
I spoke with the Marians and they welcomed the opportunity for all of you to site visit. So that, because I informed them as part of the original, any meetings or groups going down there for scientific person or education have to at least notify them. That way it's not a public entrance.
yep.
So it's a question of when the committee, if we have transportation of vehicles, canoes, kayaks to do that, and who's available at what time. It's about 100-yard carry over land to get to the bog. And each of the canoes would have to be milfoil approved so that they've been washed prior to and so forth.
Yeah, is the boat wash station still live at the boat launch? It's not, right?
They don't have any boats there, Arthur?
No, they do not. No, they have no boats at all.
Okay.
And I don't have a way to transport my boats. That's the
Yeah,
problem.
and plus, like, there's a ton of milfoil in the bowl.
I would, yeah, I would,
I would not recommend
And
that
clean.
we take boats from the bowl,
okay.
you know?
I, just for me personally, and I don't want to sound like, I don't want to see the bog because I do. At the same time, I have this kind of terrible feeling that I'm going to damage something irreparably by going into it. And I feel like if we knew somebody who had a drone at some point, it might be interesting to have a virtual visit of the bog because we could see it maybe at a different time of the year. I have absolutely no idea how to make such a thing happen. I'm just throwing it out there because I feel like if I go in there, I mean, I'm not an experienced kayaker or canoeer, and I feel like I would be blundering into a space that I did not want to blunder in.
Yeah, no, I think that's.
So while I thank anyone for the opportunity to see the place, I guess for me personally, I would feel uncomfortable doing it.
So I know people who have drones. I actually know two people who have actually, I think one person, a resident, has actually shot footage.
Yeah.
Nick Fretzel.
Nick Fretzel.
So I can reach out to Nick. And then there's also Ben Garver has actually done some similar type stuff.
He's the
Berkshire
voice.
Eagle.
He's the,
Berkshire Eagle.
oh, Berkshire Eagle, right. He's the photographer.
Yeah,
He's a
yeah.
photographer.
He's really,
I get him confused with Ben Dorn.
it's about going in there with Jess and all
Yeah.
that stuff. Okay.
So if you want, I can follow up with that.
I would suggest that if we're going to drone the visit, which is a very good idea, we probably ask Jesse Toro to interpret it as to what we're seeing. Just a ride around the air over the bog is visually helpful, but we do not know where the fen starts. There's various classifications from the water expanding outward of nature. And it probably would be helpful if she just, comments on the drone vision.
And one thing we should do, if we need to shoot new footage, they've probably done this without necessarily asking for permission, but I would suggest that we take the footage from up at the vantage point of the Marians and we ask the Marians for permission to do that. So we do this at least all on the up and up. So both of them are licensed drone operators, so, but I just wanted to make sure that, we do this the right way. So, since it is a town committee, so,
If you set it up, I will seek permission and I'm sure it will be granted.
okay, all right. They're very small drones, so they're very inconspicuous.
Yeah.
That's okay.
They're not underwater or anything, so,
They don't touch
No.
anything. Yeah.
No, they don't get underwater unless the battery dies.
Not a submarine
right.
And
drone.
then they go underwater. So,
Okay, got it.
yeah.
Okay. All right, so I guess inquire, see what they think about
Yeah,
it.
I don't think it'll be a big deal.
And we could, and maybe you and Arthur could sort of talk about it and then perhaps, I don't know,
As
maybe
a matter
by,
of fact, I actually have to talk to Ben about the Kampoosa bog for drone footage as well, so for other things, so
okay.
I'll go with that.
Arthur, if we wait till our next meeting to try to talk about this further, I mean, is there any harm in just waiting till our next meeting to try to nail this down? Because it's still going to be there. You can fly a drone anytime
I
of
think
the
we could
year.
get, I think we could
you
get the
know?
drone footage done before the next,
Okay, great.
meeting,
Okay.
and I could share it. So I'll just get that on, I'll get that on the calendar.
All right, cool. Interesting.
It also might be cool to like have seasonal ones, like plan 4 of them,
Think
like spring, summer, winter, fall,
smart to do that and
fall,
then,
winter, something like
and
that.
then archive them and then there's a before and after and, it's kind of one of the amazing things.
Great idea. I like that.
I kind of wanted to go out on it. Maybe we could build a raft like Huck Finn style from local.
I'd like a hot air balloon ride over it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
good.
totally do that.
Now's the time to do
I
it.
had the play,
Saw one last weekend.
I had the pleasure of doing that, a hot air balloon over the bog, and the photographs I took, and one is the state is now using it as their Kampoosa bog photograph.
You've actually taken a hot air balloon over the bog. Of course you have, right?
Yeah, this is the kind of footage that Ben can do.
Oh, yeah, neat.
So we
Oh,
can,
neat. Oh, that's really, okay.
so,
So clear.
She's friendly.
yeah.
Okay, that's
So that's what he
cool.
can do.
Yeah,
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Look at that.
that's great.
Wow.
This is the Housatonic River over by the Norman Rockwell Museum.
Cool.
So I don't know if I have to share it to the world, but there it is.
That's a,
That's cool.
So,
All right, so,
And as an aside, if there's a slight fee, we can probably figure out a way to.
I don't think.
do you think we have to, are we limited, are there any rules about not flying drones over the Mass Pike or anything like that? You know, I mean, we're not super close to the Pittsfield Airport. I mean, I know they're licensed.
No, I know, but I don't think we're gonna need to go over the turnpike to get what you need to see.
No,
Okay.
Because those things have a very long depth of field, so that, they don't actually even have to go very far up
Okay.
in order for you to see a lot.
So they'll see
of
that land on the other side of the turnpike, that little
And-
triangle or
Oh,
whatever.
yeah.
Okay,
The seek permission versus ask forgiveness thing comes to mind. Yes, but
fine. I mean, I know that the gas pipeline, they use drones and stuff too to kind of survey their area. Too. So I don't want to have a drone collision up there.
right.
Okay,
right, right.
all right, so next on the agenda was just, I wanted to talk about our third Monday of the month meeting. So the next meeting would be November 21st, which is the Monday of Thanksgiving. I want to make sure that that's
The
okay.
Monday prior, thanks.
Before, yeah. And then the next one after that is the week of, I guess it's the week before Christmas. So it would be Monday, December 19th at 5:00. Still fine for me. I'm still.
I'm coming back that day from a trip, so I should be here.
Okay.
So if not, I can call in.
Hopefully John will be here too.
John's sailing now, so he's going, but yeah.
Well, he's on his way to sailing, yes.
Yeah. Sailing to sailing, right?
Right. And then the next one would be Monday, January 16th, which is MLK Day.
Yeah, no,
So
we can't do
that's-
that.
Yeah, so that's not going to work. So in January, you guys are second meeting of the second Monday and you're you're first. So we would probably, I'm suggesting we push then to January 23rd, which is the fourth Monday of the month. Does that seem okay?
As far as I know.
Okay. All right. Okay, so January 23rd, December 19th, and November 21st are the next three meetings. Okay. So then, back to my agenda. I hate not having paper.
I know.
I don't see anything else.
All I have next, well, I wanted to, we have public comment, so, or just if there's any other new business that we didn't have on here, and I was just gonna mention, we talked about beavers last time, but I didn't put it on here because I don't know who owns that and what it was we wanted to say.
Did that come from John?
No, he hasn't been to our last couple of meetings.
I didn't
Someone
know
in
if
the
he's-
last meeting said, oh, beavers, we
I
should put
think
that
it
on the
was, I
next
think it was
agenda.
Lisa. That was my memory.
And I watched that video
I know
twice.
John has mentioned beaver issues many
I
times.
mean, I've complained about
Conservation meetings.
beavers only because the state goes and in the past has gone and removed beaver work only to have.
I think they installed the beaver deceiver. That was what started to fix hydrology issues that Roberta Scaron was talking about.
Hang on one sec. Just finish that thought for me. So I just,
So in the past, before the beaver deceivers were installed, we would have a fair amount of flooding taking place up there. And the state would go in and basically just on a date and time that they dictated, would go in and clean it up, which would then create an ensuing tidal wave that would go all the way down.
They would
to
break
this-
the dam, basically.
They would break the dam and it would go down and destroy a lot of land downstream, all the way down to the Housatonic.
okay.
And so I complained I'm like, I don't have a complaint against that, but they should at least give everyone who's downstream a heads up that that's happening.
Yeah.
But, you know, since that's happened, it's been largely good, okay? But there have been times where like, you know, even still, you know, we have a moderate rain and all of a sudden there's like a fair amount of water coming down to only, you know, and that could be for any number of reasons. Like there are people who are, who may be, I'm not gonna allege anything, who may be creating their own sort of makeshift dams upstream, but downstream of the bog, but upstream from us, that are, those things maybe, you know, the levee may have broken and that's why the water is coming down more than usual.
Okay.
So
not all beaver created.
no, and it's certainly gotten better since the beaver deceivers have been installed.
Talking about private ponds.
Is a beaver deceiver.
I got it.
That's why I didn't say anything.
Everybody wants a pond.
Yeah.
She's asking what a beaver deceiver is.
It's a device that's done so that the beavers don't.
It's a pipe they put from one side to the other that makes it impossible for them to dam it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, basically they can build their dam, but the water still flows through.
Something harmless.
Yeah.
That
Oh, yeah,
just
yeah.
says,
Right.
we're gonna make this
It's
inhospitable.
basically like a more natural looking culvert that goes.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, that's right.
Yeah,
It's a pipe.
yeah.
Got it.
They stick a pipe through the dam and the water flows underneath the water.
They put a thing around where the inlet is so that the beavers can't do their thing.
Okay,
around it.
okay,
Okay.
okay.
If you drive up there on Route 7, you can see one on the left-hand side as you're going north, so on the western side of Route 7. You'll see like a little cage-like thing.
Yes.
When the
Oh, I have
water.
seen that before.
I have,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I've seen that. Yeah, I just didn't know what it was.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then that
It's
just.
like a
goes-
Wile E. Coyote device that actually works.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a nice ring to it. It's rhyming. Okay, all right, so then maybe when John joins, he can let us know if there are any things about beavers, if he wants us to know. And I think once we send this letter out to people, you know, who
might
knows
hear.
what's gonna come out of the woodwork, we might uncover some really interesting stuff.
Right.
And then I'll also, when I talk to NHESP, I'll ask about beavers specifically.
Yeah. Because, stewardship, has different meaning for different people, and beavers are very much part of the natural world, and, people sort of think of achieving stasis somewhere as conservation. And obviously landowners get very worked up about beavers, and I understand why, but it's just like they are part of what goes on, and so, they're not necessarily, we're taking an active part in preventing them from making changes because we say stasis is important.
Well, and I think if one thing man has learned, well, maybe we haven't learned, we have to just keep learning it, is you take one thing out of an ecosystem and you often have unintended consequences.
Right.
Because there is that symbiotic relationship between certain plants and certain animals and so,
Yeah,
yeah,
and that change is unavoidable.
right.
Yeah, my comment was never about being against the beavers.
Yeah, no.
Because I have them down, if you want, you can go visit more beavers at the bottom of the brook. So, but it's just more of like the management of
Yes.
that system and
Well, and this is
The
where I
lack of
think, when you're
communication.
saying, and when I'm talking about unintended consequences as well, whoever it was that used to go in and break up the beaver dam, they were intending to do one thing, but there were other negative consequences
yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
So I think once we get all these different groups talking to each other instead of NHESP is doing that, and oh yeah, by the way, Nature Conservancy is also doing something, are they talking to each other? Is there overlap there? Is there redundancy?
Yeah.
We've got to start figuring those sorts of things out.
Right.
So then let's talk about to-dos. I just want to recap to-dos. So I know I missed the very first part of the meeting, but I'm going to reach out to NHESP, to that guy, Chris, and ask him a million questions and then try to figure out what the next logical step would be. So that's the first thing. I'm going to talk to Mike Canales about a place to store all of these documents, digital documents, and also like hard copies of things, if we can have like a little dedicated file folder or whatever it is we need.
I'll volunteer that we have a filing cabinet here for the land trust, which there's at least half a cabinet that's not being
Okay,
used, so you
cool.
could use that.
So we have a little real estate already. Great. And then I'm also going to talk to Mike about, or whoever the right person is, about figuring out who are the right people to receive this letter and getting this letter out. So I think those are my to-dos.
And I have the BNRC.
You have
follow-up,
BNRC
some more
and
on
you
that.
have drone.
And drone.
And
Okay.
you have just Toro.
And just Toro,
Right.
3 things.
Okay.
Wow, okay.
Do you have any?
And I'll follow up. I haven't gotten the information from Stockbridge Concom yet. I'll follow
Oh,
up with
okay.
that. And I'll also send out, I had sent you what India from the library had. sent out.
Yeah.
So, but it didn't get to everybody, so I can send that to.
Yeah, you can send it to everybody. That was just another thing where I was gonna say, Mike, how, because I don't want us to just have a folder, we just start dumping stuff in. I'd like to have subfolders and dated thing, like
Right,
make it
sure.
nicely organized. So if I win lotto and
Right.
leave Stockbridge and move to an island somewhere, you guys know where all the stuff is. And, okay.
That's tonight, by the way, just so you know.
I will notify the Marians that we'll be doing a drone survey over the bog. And
Great.
I will work with Rich on date and time.
Okay, and then you have maps also that you're going to
Yes.
bring in and make copies for all of us or something? I know you said Marion's has their own copy.
Right, yeah, I
That-
will bring these in and we can copy them for the membership.
That'd be great. Yeah.
I have some articles that we talked about earlier that I photocopied from the museum and archives at the library.
Oh, good.
And I can scan those so that we could, rather than photocopy them. I'm assuming I can scan those in this little room over here and somehow retrieve those documents
It's
and
really
get
easy.
them, get
Yeah.
them saved
You
and
can email it to
distributed.
yourself or
Yeah.
email it to whoever.
Right. And at some point, when we're talking about storage, I would just like to figure out how we're gonna kind of organize and document what we have rather than just pile stuff in and,
yeah.
use keywords and, whatever, so we can find things, just.
Yeah, and I want to make sure, I think one thing that'll be beneficial is for us to just read everything that we have so that we all have looked at it and able to link
Yeah.
things together.
Yeah.
Did anything happen with the Lee conservation?
They had nothing.
They had nothing, because what I did find, I just kind of read through a lot of the documents again that we had before the previous meeting. And it says that the Lee Land Trust and Stockbridge Land Trust were co-chairs of the committee, of this old version of the committee, which
Well,
I thought was
contacted Lee
curious.
Concom,
Right.
not Lee.
Not, you
Trust.
didn't, do you know anybody at Lee Land Trust or?
I don't, but I mean, I probably should, so I can follow
Or
up.
I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can contact them, because
Yeah,
I just did the Concom.
Oh, okay, got it. You're right. It was Concom, not,
Yeah.
okay, Lee Land Trust. Okay, that would be
And
great.
the thing that I kind of took away, and Arthur might be able to correct me, is that Judy Spencer was extremely active on this committee.
Yeah,
On-
she was the leadership.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and she was on, and she was also in the land trust as
Yeah,
well.
president,
But
right.
the thing is that what I could glean from my colleagues on the land trust, especially those that have been there a while, that it wasn't so much that they identified the land trust as being a leader on it. It was just more that Judy was taking leadership of this committee, and she was also on the
She
land
also
trust.
happened to be on the land
And I
trust.
think that they just, I think over the course of time, that it was just assumed that there would be a member of the land trust on that committee.
Okay,
That was all.
I see.
So
Got it.
that's the take that I got from
Okay.
everyone, so.
That
so.
makes sense. All right, so any other action items? When I talk to the NHESP, I'm going to inquire about DOT and Tennessee Gas, and because I wouldn't even know which people to reach out to there. And he says he's been coordinating with them. So I'm kind of hoping that he'll be able to bring them in as well for when it makes sense.
Okay.
Okay.
Rennie Wendell said that he would try to attend the next meeting.
I heard that part,
Okay, so
yeah,
I just
yeah.
wasn't sure.
That's great.
That just seemed okay to me to have him just be here and.
Yeah,
and,
yeah, and if he doesn't, I think also if he, he's gonna try to get documents and whatever, if it's too much for him and there's some central location where the stuff is, and, I mean, I love a trip to Sheffield or wherever it is.
Yeah.
I can go get stuff too, because.
Some of it is definitely electronic, and so it's a matter of our being granted access.
Okay.
And,
Yep.
they have to sort of determine what it is that we can see and what.
Of course, yeah,
Right,
of
so
course.
that's a process,
Okay.
clearly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody have anything else? Okay, cool. All right, so if there's no further discussion on anything, I'm going to, well, you called the meeting to order. Can I adjourn it? I don't know.
Yeah,
All right.
go for it.
Sure.
I'm going to adjourn.
I have no authority here.
I move we adjourn the meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay,
Second.
thank you. All right, thanks,
Bye,
everybody.
Everyone, bye.